Chapter 6 of Love Letters in Digital Ink. Also, this chapter does contain a casual, although non-explicit, description of depression and explicit descriptions of past alcoholism. So those are in the chat with Rose and Kanaya. There are clear indications of what's to come when they start talking about it, and more or less ends when Rose begins her blog entry, just for people in the audience. Alright. Grim Auxiliatrix began pestering Gothic Astrator at 12:32 p.m.
So, Roxy, huh?
You can shut the hell up. You read the post, didn't you?
I am an innocent bystander in all of this.
God damn it. Well, what?
Was it good?
Yes.
Gothic Astrator blocks Grim Auxiliatrix.
That's what I thought. Dogcat.
I know, I read the post. It was more than I ever wanted to know about your sister, or you, in all honesty, but that's fine. I'm fine. This is fine.
Really?
Okay, would it be nice if I didn't have to listen to ludicrously explicit tales of your sister's sexual conquests? Yes. Would it be absolutely lovely if I didn't have to think about what your sister does in the bedroom? You know, it really fucking would be. Would I enjoy life a lot more and probably be a much more well-adjusted person generally if I weren't forced to witness the ingratiating detail with which Lalonde chooses to describe every fucking thing about you? Abso-fucking-lutely. In fact, nothing would make me happier than to procure a time machine for the sole purpose of bleaching my eyes before I had to bear witness to, what is it, the 8th occasion of Lalonde paying disgustingly sappy homage to my best friend's face? But you know, it's fine.
Oh, I am your best friend.
That's what you took away from this.
It seemed the most important piece of information.
Yes, okay, you're my best friend. Which is all the more reason I shouldn't have to read about your face and how much Rose would like to kiss it.
Where did she say that? Also, for the record, you are my best friend too. I wanted to establish that before we strayed any further off topic and forever lost the opportunity.
Thank you. Glad to know you have some basic fucking manners. Also, no, Rose didn't explicitly say she wanted to kiss your face, but if you're really so inept at subtextual reading that you can't acknowledge the basic truth presented in between the lines of every single blog post, I'm revoking your right to read anything ever again. For someone who spent 3 days locked away writing 12-page MLA source meta about how the female vampires in Sunrise are in a loving sapphic relationship, you are ridiculously inept at interpreting actual context clues. You're acting like Rose hasn't been dropping hints like a shit DJ drops the bass, frequently and with such ineptitude that it's incredible anyone still wants to bang them.
Oh, so she did not explicitly then?
It's at times like these that I regret talking in caps, because it robs me of the opportunity to verge into capitals when I'm feeling particularly fucking infuriated. Rest assured that if I use lowercase text, now would be one of the times where I assumed my normal speech pattern.
But you are always feeling particularly fucking infuriated.
The graph of my rage is a fluctuating series of diverse shapes. Don't simplify my emotional range.
You are right. I am sorry.
That's okay. Is there any reason you messaged me other than to talk about your crush?
Can't a girl talk to her friends without an ulterior motive nowadays?
Sure she can. Can you?
I don't understand what that's supposed to mean. I am a perfectly innocent person who neither seeks advice nor attempts to solicit generosity from her Biffsy.
Biffsy?
Best friend forever. See?
I don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about, but the first part is kind of sweet, so I'll allow it.
Good. Interesting question for you now that all is settled.
I knew it.
Please, I do not have anyone to ask. Porrim blocked me.
What the fuck? Why?
I asked her about things.
You didn't. You did not ask her after reading a blog post that pretty explicitly forbade you from reading it about her thing with Roxy. I refuse to believe that you, the self-proclaimed bastion of tact and simple civility, actually came out and asked her about it.
We all make mistakes. I am no different.
Well, sure, but you're not exactly prone to that kind of fuckery. Your fuck-ups usually come from saying too little, not too much. Sorry if that comes off as harsh.
Although you are right, I will take a moment to be wounded by your candor before acknowledging your correctness.
Do what you need to do. It was only a soft block, though, right? She'll unblock you soon.
I don't know. She does this sometimes. It is invariably frustrating.
Well, whatever. She can fuck off. You didn't do anything wrong. Being curious isn't a crime. She should have known better than to fuck a blogger's sister. I guess. Apparently.
Indeed. But anyway, as regards my question,
Yeah, sure, shoot.
as I said, it is one of a romantic nature. And it has to do with, well, you know who.
I can't believe it. She disclosed your name online, publicly, to thousands, and you can't even bear to mention her in a private chat. Fucking incredible.
Carcat, please. I am trying to forge a serious inquiry.
Sure, sorry. Go ahead and ask.
If one was looking to woo a girl, perhaps in the language of flowers or clothes, or anything domestic really, and looking to invest in such overtures as can be communicated over the course of one evening, how might one start?
Kanaya. On the one hand, I know the answer to this to a fucking T. On the other hand, I am incredibly perplexed as to why in the name of God you would ask me, the person with the least dating experience of anybody you know, this question.
You've dated a girl. It was moderately successful.
Moderately successful? Moderately fucking successful. She broke up with me after 2 months.
2 months of what I expect was loving bliss.
Terezi didn't go for shit like that. The most romantic thing we ever did together was eat ice cream from the carton and watch the Die Hard series on her couch.
The distinction between theory and praxis is inessential to one who has experience with neither. Please help.
Okay, given the circumstances, what are you trying to communicate?
I think her face is cute, and I would not be averse to kissing it sometimes.
Whoa, comment with the obscenity, Miriam. I don't need to hear that shit.
Apologies.
Forgiven. Here's what you're going to need.
So, here's the thing. In Chapter 5, Calmassus clearly demonstrates an ambivalence toward the practices of Zazarpan as a person. It is only towards the society that Zazarpan inhabits that Calmassus bears any ill will. And furthermore, the last chess game's clear moral ambiguity seems to indicate that authorial stances on Calmassus' ethical obligations are more or less neutral. Furthermore, the encounter is charged with a sexual tension that is hard to ignore. We are supposed to regard Zazarpan as the protagonist, but at the same time his shortcomings are presented factually and the narrative presents no inclination, at least on his behalf, to remedy them. What do you think?
This is the first time you have messaged me in 17 hours. Is this how you start all your conversations, Rose? Shoot, I mean, Miss Therapist.
Answer the question, Miss Auxiliatrix. The sanctity of our friendship may depend on it.
Oh, man, I think overall, Calmasis probably was right to be angry as they were, but they did not have the right to cut off contact from the learned entirely, nor did they have the right to hurt Frieglish as they did. So, although they are a fascinating anti-hero, and one that I enjoy as a character, I do not particularly think they and Zazarpan are as similar as you believe. Sorry.
A fair judgment. But you have to consider, there's some pretty damn good fan art depicting otherwise.
Send me the link.
Greedy girl. I'll find it later. Really, this conversation was a facade to entrap you in a conversation without the appeal to small talk that I might have had to engage in otherwise.
Clever of you.
Did it work?
Maybe. I may participate in some small talk to punish your eagerness, but otherwise, I think yours was a successful maneuver. Haha. I'm sorry, did that come across as arrogant?
No more than virtually everything I say, so you needn't worry. Although I have to say that I am impressed by the depth of your analysis on Calmassus. You must have thought about them for some time before I asked you to have a detailed reply so quickly. Am I right?
Yes. Complacency is something near and dear to me, which has been an important part of my life for a long time.
Oh, Do tell.
It's rather personal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That is okay. I am all right with telling you. I merely wanted to let you know in case you are not looking to talk about matters as serious as those that complacency involves for me.
If you're okay with telling me, I would like to hear. If it helps, I can disclose something similarly intimate in return. Tit for tat, so to speak.
That should work. All right. So, it was about 2 years ago, before I moved to my current location, so I was with a different group of people. They were not necessarily good people. I was in an especially unhealthy relationship with a girl about my age with whom I should not have so readily engaged. It was not her fault either, seeing as I had expectations of her which were unfair, given her specific circumstances and my own delusions regarding her capabilities and reciprocated feelings. But it was unhealthy nonetheless. And her group of friends was also not a beneficial place for me. I do not think it would have been beneficial to anybody, come to think of it. So anyway, I descended to a very poor state of mental health, which involved a variety of unpleasant diagnoses. And it did not go away so much as I managed to beat it back with the help of my sister and a very good therapist, supplemented by finding things which genuinely made me happy. As you know, your blog was one of them. Another was complacency. I saw myself in the character of Friglish a lot. As a person who struggled with communication despite an immense body of knowledge and an intense desire to be helpful, forced into silence by circumstances outside of his control, and perpetually in awe of a wizard far greater and more intelligent than he will ever be. Zazarpan, I mean. When things got rough, or I suppose more specifically when I had an episode, my sister would sit down and make me watch the movie series with her, until I was no longer preoccupied with my own state, but rather that of fictional characters whose problems are much easier to deal with. So, yeah, um, Rose.
Wow. Sorry, I don't mean to make light of your experiences. I'm just feeling kind of abashed. Uncharacteristic as it is of me to admit this, I didn't expect you to be so forthcoming. I'm flattered by your honesty and feeling somewhat embarrassed that I dragged it out of you.
Well, with all due respect, you did not drag anything out of me. I am capable of choosing to disclose and withhold my own secrets, thank you. Although your questioning was the provocation for my disclosure, it was not the only motivation, nor was the information provided involuntarily. The main motivation was that I find you to be a trustworthy and intelligent person with whom I would like to maintain a closer connection. And closer connections are fueled by knowledge of each other's pasts, the struggles each other has faced, the triumphs of which each is proud. Of course, I will not urge you to share any of these with me at a place which is uncomfortable for you, but to perhaps enlighten me as to your own struggles and triumphs if and when you choose, as I just have.
Right. It was not my intention to disenfranchise your autonomy.
Rose, pardon my language, but for Christ's sake, you do not have a gosh darn thing to apologize for.
Whoa, whoa, do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
My mother was the one who taught me how to swear. Is that how you do it? Was that the proper usage for the emoticon?
More or less. I suppose it's my turn now?
As I said, this should not be an obligatory thing. I am happy to keep talking about complacency of the learned if you are not looking to go deep tonight. Oh, for fuck's sake.
I'm screenshotting that.
This is immature.
I'm putting it on a slideshow at my wedding.
This is childish humor.
Dave will love this, oh my god. I can almost imagine the consequent chat log.
You are fully aware that your interpretation of that phrase was not my intention. I was talking about philosophy.
Miss Auxiliatrix, if we ever have the pleasure of meeting in real life, you can rest assured that I am always down to go deep. Wink. And that's how you use the emoticon.
Your mind is filthy, and I want no part in your shenanigans. Do you see this outstretched hand? It is metaphorically pushing you and all your shenanigans away from me and my innocence. I invite you to talk to said Liam in lieu of my face until you are prepared to shape up your thoughts.
I'm done. Really. I'm ready to talk about serious things.
Okay, I am listening patiently.
Good. Gosh, I can't think of anything close to the degree of intimacy you've honored me with tonight. Well, I can. I'm just not sure that you want to hear it. It's private shit about my family, and it's pretty much one of the only things that I don't really talk about blog-wise, because it's really that personal.
If you are uncomfortable, then please stop. But I am not.
Okay. All right then. My mom. I was about 6. Roxy was 9. My mother was a single mom working in STEM with 2 kids. She was under a lot of stress damn near constantly, and she didn't generally have a lot of time for creature comforts. In her position, the only convenient stress relief that she could practice with any kind of promised efficacy was alcohol. So she partook, with increasing frequency. It was not only she who suffered as a consequence. She was never cruel to us. But drinking did result in some neglect on her behalf, a lack of sufficient attention which Roxy and I were forced to compensate for with each other, as children ought not to need to do. It took its toll on our relationship in particular. A child tends to internalize things. Sometimes I look at my relationship with her and consider what it might have been without that period in our lives. But such thinking is unproductive and ultimately would only hurt me. What is in the past is in the past. What is now is my choice. Ultimately, my mother acknowledged her problem and she successfully quit. It was not an immediate thing, but the product of much work and her willingness to take a break sometimes and admit her failures. She is a remarkably strong woman, despite her many, many shortcomings in the field of social interaction. 9 years sober this August. I am proud of her.
That is a remarkable story. Thank you for sharing it with me. Your mother seems like a wonderful woman. I would like to meet her someday.
I'm sure she'd like to meet you too. She has an affinity for the intellectual charming types.
Hush, you are shameless.
Shameless and charming.
Granted,
I'm going to bed. Will I talk to you tomorrow?
most definitely. Good night, Ms. Therapist.
Night. Date June 15th, 2016. Weather sticky. Mood apathetic. News. I have been thinking a lot about Jaspers and how I can pay my respects to him. My cat, as you all know, was a source of comfort to me upon many an occasion, and I am thinking of setting up some memorial to him. The memorial would consist of some thematic artifacts that I believe he would have had some affinity for were he alive. Jasper, obviously, because good wordplay is the height of literary merit, and the visual gag will amuse me, but perhaps a set of other stones and candles? A picture or two, perhaps maybe an artistic rendering? I have seen others do this for their cats, and most of the time it seems to bring them. What prompted these thoughts? Nothing in particular. My older sister has an abiding love of cats, of course, so she talks about them frequently, but today she came home with a new kitten that she immediately christened Friglish. A funny name for a being that can't speak, for those of you who noticed the reference, and prompted an introspective mood. Friglish is a very sweet cat. He came up and nuzzled my hand twice without even checking for food. He also climbed onto my bed without permission, so he's a little gutsy. But I like that in a cat. I need a pet with chutzpah. Does anyone have any suggestions? I believe I've found the pictures likely to be used for Jasper's memorial, but as for stones, I am at a loss. Pretty much all of the ideas I have are either puns or just things that I appreciate, but would not necessarily be useful. At Arsenic Catnip, any thoughts? Aside from that, news about the grand ritual is thankfully low. I have procured a few more necessary supplies. I will disclose my full recipe list after I succeed, to make sure I do not mislead anyone to an unsuccessful ritual. Questions answered. In response to @TurnTech Godhead's question about, and I quote, the karmic dick of fate, a little ugly of you, don't you think, asking me something about like this in my submission box? You're very lucky that inquiries were rare this week, Dave, otherwise you would have, without a doubt, been ignored. Don't think I'm past soft blocking you. I've done it before. That being said, karma is a force, according to some, which gives each person their due. It is neither innately phallic nor uteral. However, I can recommend some interesting sources who explain why a person might perceive a gender-neutral object as phallic for whatever reason. In response to @Carcinogeneticist's question, my favorite kinds of flowers are white jasmine. I'm not sure why you posed this inquiry, but I suppose it's harmless and somewhat cute. Personal news. Several attempts to engage Kanaya Merriam have as of yet been thwarted. She seems utterly preoccupied with preparing for the dinner party, as does her sister, to the detriment of her relationship with my own. Apparently they are very preoccupied with making our as enjoyable as possible. I do not blame her. She is a woman of composure, and I have no doubt that the ordeal she prepares will be one of superb quality and atmosphere. However, she has left me without a person to speculate about, and I am somewhat at a loss. There is only so much time that a person can spend thinking about a blog. Roxy insisted on getting me out of the house this morning and hauled me off on her playdate. You may have noticed a trend of me minding my business, Roxy dragging me on strange unnecessary expeditions to places I really have no business going. Fortunately, her destination was her friend Jake's house, who happens to be the brother of one of my close friends, at Garden Gnostic. So we had an enjoyable time anyway. We had a rousing conversation about the merits of gardening and growing one's own. She generously allowed me to take some rosemary from her garden, a scent to which she knows I am quite partial. Jade is a good friend. The other notable aspect of today was I saw Kanaya in her garden upon returning from Jade's house and was pleasantly surprised. I debated calling out to her, but ultimately decided against it. I was satisfied to cast her a brief but weighted glance, and then continued my journey inside. Yet Kanaya herself, apparently purged of the shyness which tainted our first encounter, assailed me instead. Leaning over the fence, she said,
Hello, Rose.
in such a way that I at once was overcome by her sweetness and friendliness. Hi, I said eloquently.
Were you working outside?
She pointed to my knees, which were undoubtedly coated with dirt and various flora as a result of working in Jade's herb patch. Involuntarily, I assured her. I was gathering some herbs at a friend's.
Could I see them?
Sure. I crossed my lawn and presented the bag. She opened it and took a quick sniff, then closed it, apparently discerning all necessary information from the one scent. She is quite skilled at plant identification, apparently.
Is that rosemary?
Yes.
Oh, I love that. I have some incense scented with it in my bedroom. It's such a nice, sharp scent.
Isn't it? I have a few candles. I can loan you some if you run out of incense.
Would you? That would be lovely.
She gestured toward her backyard.
I've been trying to start up a planter for it, along with other scented plants, but it's slow going.
Problems with the soil?
Yes, how did you know?
My friend claims to face the same problem. I can arrange a meeting between you two, if you like. She blinked, perhaps surprised by my offer, and then nodded.
That would be nice. I've been trying to get it up and running for a while now, but it's been impossible. The only things that grow in it are in transplanted soil, and I really haven't the slightest idea how to grow anything else.
He'll be glad to talk to you. She's very friendly, I assured her, and then said, Do you happen to have any lavender?
Not on me, why?
Oh, I ran out recently, that's all,
Well,
she said brightly.
I can plant some for you, as soon as I've got the soil figured out.
Would you? I wouldn't want to ask too much.
You're not asking too much at all. I like it too.
In that case, I sought in vain another reason to continue the conversation. Finding none, I surrendered. See you tomorrow, then?
Yes.
She appeared, at least in my biased opinion, similarly dismayed at the sudden and brute end to our dialogue.
You should come into the garden sometime.
I'd be useless.
Maybe, but an entertaining kind of useless.
She encouraged, then seemed to regret saying so.
I'm sorry. Was that rude?
It was only as rude as I choose to interpret it, and I choose to believe it was a well-intentioned jab at my self-admitted failures. Not at all.
Excellent. Well, then.
She smiled and patted my shoulder. It was intense.
I will see you soon.
Yes, I said, more or less to her back, as by that time she was retreating off into the garden and I was left standing uselessly on my porch, with a handful of rosemary, watching the impeccable Kanaya Merriam sally off. That was all that happened today, and to be honest, I'm thankful for it. There's only so much excitement that a girl can weather. We must all enjoy moderation, if and when it comes to us. As always, the inquiry box is open. Feel free to solicit advice on any and all supernatural feats that you have witnessed or seek to witness. Have a good evening, readers. Tentacle Therapist.
I love that story.
That fic is very good.
It's
And
so
what
fun.
a good fic to read on the Lesbian Day of Visibility.
Oh, I know. It's perfect.
Extremely homosexual.
these bitches gay. Good for them.
I am just petting Jimmy.
Oh,
He is in my lap, and he is a good boy.
he
Is
is
he
a good
though?
boy.
Not really. But, I mean, he doesn't pee on things, which is a very good cat feature, is when they
That's
don't
a-
pee.
That is
That's a
very
good
true.
cat feature.
He's a young man.
He is a young, stinky little nut man.
He's a year and a half now,
Oh, wow.
so I'm gonna have him for a long time.
Yeah.
He's
This is
just
a good boy.
He's a spry little baby.
a baby. Okay.